With DC's League of SuperPets coming out, I have to ask, is there something in Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart's contracts where they have to appear in a certain amount of films together? They've appeared in Central Intelligence, 2 Jumanji films, Super Pets, and Hart even had a cameo in Hobbs and Shaw, which means Kevin Hart could be cast in a future Fast and Furious movie, and dear God, I hope that happens. Since Super Pets is coming out soon and it's another collaboration between Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart, I thought I'd go back and check out the film that started it all, Central Intelligence. Back in 2016, this movie was kind of a big deal. This came out at what could be considered Kevin Hart's peak. The dude was just everywhere, and it was the first time we got to see Dwayne Johnson in a comedic role that wasn't as the straight man. Taking these two at this time and putting them in an action comedy together was kind of a no-brainer. But today, you ask anyone what their thoughts are on this movie, they probably won't even remember of this movie's existence. And for good reason. Central Intelligence is a messy comedy with 2 stars at the center desperately trying to save the film from its own overly complicated and cringy script. As I said in my first Forgotten Films video, I think it's important to talk about films that aren't that great because there's always something that you can learn from them. So, what can we learn from Central Intelligence? Quite a lot, actually. Central Intelligence suffers from what I consider to be an improv comedy film. A comedy whose script isn't really that funny, so the actors desperately riff and try their damnedest to save the film with material being made up on the spot to incredibly mixed results. Both the leads of this film have a good understanding of their characters, but the things they had to improvise just aren't funny, and the bits go on for too long.
Is it hot? Are you getting hot? Because I'm getting hot. I'm not going to take off my jacket because that makes me look guilty. And that's what you guys look for. Is this what a guilty man would do? Look how comfortable I am.
Ha
While improvising on set is not uncommon for comedies, it should not be your go-to method for making people laugh. Making short comedies myself, I've been on both sides where I ask my cast for live improv in films when we stuck only to the script. While the improv can be funny in the moment on set, once you put the film together, you have a realization of, maybe we should have stuck to the script. While it's clear this cast is having fun, the material being thrown at us ranges from cringy unfunny to uncomfortable unfunny. What's more baffling is Rawson Marshall Thurber wrote and directed Dodgeball, a comedy that actually holds up really well, mainly because it was written well. When the comedy isn't written well and the screenwriter is relying on the actors to fill the gaps of where their jokes should be, that's your sign to run. The other factor in this movie that drove me insane on rewatch is how overly complicated the story is. The basic gist is after being humiliated in high school, Dwayne Johnson's character reinvents himself into a Dwayne Johnson type man, joins the CIA, and becomes framed for a crime he didn't commit. To figure out who really did the crime, he enlists the help of the only kid in school who showed him kindness, Kevin Hart, and the two go on a wacky adventure together. Now, that premise there is simple enough and can lead to a lot of comedic antics and clever setups. The problem is, rather than focus on figuring out funny scenarios for our characters to get into, the film thinks it's telling this really smart and clever spy story filled with twists and turns, and is constantly trying to fool you into thinking certain things. And there's this whole plot, the US satellites being in danger, and a black badger, and Aaron Paul is here. Seriously, what is happening? Yeah, this was the shifting point for Thurber as a filmmaker. Rather than make just pure straight comedies like Dodgeball and We're the Millers, here he began to try to be a smarter filmmaker and make things way more complicated than they needed to be. He did it here with Skyscraper, and the crowning achievement in overly complicated, unfunny action comedy for his filmography goes to Red Notice. But that's a story for another time. This did not need to be complicated in any way, shape, or form, and yet for some reason it is, and I haven't the faintest clue as to why. To me, the key to making a good comedy is having a plot that's easy to follow, characters that have distinct comedic personalities and good comedic banter with one another, and well-written humor, whether that be through dialogue or gags. I think a prime example of a well-made comedy is Superbad. That film has characters with distinct personalities with good comedic banter between each other, a plot that's easy to follow that has some surprising depth to it, and the humor is well-written with witty dialogue and good gags. Central Intelligence gets one of these things right. While this film may have a lot of problems, I can't deny that Hart and Johnson have great chemistry with one another. Putting Johnson as the wild card and Hart as the straight man was honestly a really good choice, and it can lead to some funny moments between the two of them. Had this been a much simpler film with a script written with jokes, this could have been a comedy classic. It's not hard to see why the two of them keep appearing in films together. I genuinely think these two work well together, and this was a good film to test the waters to see if they not only work well together, but to see if Johnson can really hold his own as a comedic actor. Central Intelligence may be overly complicated, not that funny, and just...
You're stereotyping Korean dicks.
Weird, to say the least, but I think putting Johnson and Hart together was a great choice, and I'm happy they've started in a lot of films together. While I wish these improv comedies would just stop, they're still fascinating to watch and study. If you're looking to study comedies to grow your skills as a comedian, might I suggest not this film and something more along the lines of someone like Edgar Wright? It'll probably serve you a bit better down the road.